Hello, and welcome to the All Things Rugby League podcast. I am your host, Big Les. We're going to be going through some of the grand final news. I've got the Shortball podcast boys up here. How are you guys?
Yeah, good mate, going good. Bit keen for the grand final coming up. It's the week we've all been waiting for. Dill, how are you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. A lot of excitement, a lot of buzz around social media and just around my family, obviously being a big footy family, but super keen, super excited for this week of rugby league.
Yeah, it's going to be a really great one. Well, let's get started here. I've got a bunch of stats and just a bunch of notes here about the grand final, really going in depth here. So you may as well get started. It is 307 games since Benji Marshall's last grand final. That is just hectic, right?
Yeah. I think I saw on Random Stats Guy, he made a post about it was the most years in between his first and second grand final. And I think I also noticed another stat there that where of all those top five guys with the most years between, that either won both or lost both. So that might be another sort of thing to watch out for as we come into this week. There's obviously a few stats going around, sort of supporting the bunnies. If you want to read too much into that sort of stuff, but he's one of the best the game's seen, and obviously the flick pass has sort of revolutionized the game, and sort of the step that he I think everybody's practiced a Benji Marshall step into a flick pass or that sort of thing in the backyard. But he's one of the greats of the game, and I'd love to see him fare well in a grand final win.
Totally. Dylan, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, obviously 307 games. Not many people even get to play 307 games in their career, and to have that factor 307 games since he last played a grand final. Not many people even get to play a grand final, so it's a extraordinary number. But it just shows the class of who Benji is, and I think he said in a conference that his body feels fine to play on another year. Obviously, a bit of talk about his career next year up in the air, but as Jacob said, he's one of them players that the kids just love to watch. You practice his flick pass, you practice his step. He's just one of them players that have such a massive impact on the game to everyone.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that it is going to be a huge game for Benji Marshall. And the thing is as well, there's been a lot of talk about Adam Reynolds and that he's not really 100%. And that's a scary thought for the South Sydney Rabbitohs coming into this one, considering it's going to be a huge, huge halves battle. But I guess in a sense, they sort of need that leader out there in Adam Reynolds. What are you guys thoughts on that?
Look, personally, I don't see it as. I think the only thing could be is if it comes down to a tight game and it's decided by goal kicking, then that might be where the biggest problem is if you got Blake Taaffe kicking rather than Adam Reynolds. But I think Cody Walker did a phenomenal job in the prelim final against Manly, where he played really good in controlling the game. His kicking game, obviously not as good as Adam Reynolds, and it wasn't as good in that game, but he done a good enough job to lead the bunnies around the park. It's going to be a lot tougher up against Penrith, obviously, but look, if Adam Reynolds can just sort of play a behind-the-scenes role, that's good enough. You think Cooper Cronk in 2018, I think it was, up against the Storm with a busted shoulder, all he was doing was just steering them around, and that worked a treat for them. So I think Cody Walker can control a lot of the kicking, and he can do a lot of that sort of stuff if he's on his game. And I think the main problem is going to be goal kicking but I think Blake Taaffe can step up under the pressure. You don't know. It's one of those grand finals where you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, totally. Dylan, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, obviously Reynolds, probably many people could say top three with how he kicks in the NRL and positional kick and where he finishes sets. That's obviously going to be massive this week. And I feel like Cody Walker's really stepped up his game in that way. I feel like Adam Reynolds has really helped him out in becoming a game manager, but he's also got that X factor to run, knows when to pass, knows when to kick, and finds the line for his teammate. But Adam Reynolds is going to play such a massive toll in the outcome of this. As Jacob said, it could go down to a 2 points, and Adam Reynolds being one of the best goal kickers in the game, it could result good or bad for the Rabbitohs. So we'll just have to wait and see how he turns out to be on Sunday.
Yeah, totally. And Jacob, you used that example of Cooper Cronk. I think that's a perfect example there as well. I had that there in my notes. I think that if Adam Reynolds is going to be that game managing type of player, especially in this grand final, I think it is going to be huge for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And then you've also got a guy like Benji Marshall coming off the bench. I mean, really, really lucky there for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And, who knows if Adam Reynolds is a bit busted up, Benji Marshall can always come on. So, yeah, it is going to be a really interesting game. And as you guys said, you just don't know in these sort of games. And I think it's going to be a big night for Cody Walker as well. I think with the game he had last week, he's going to have that pressure on him to play a really good game again this week. And I think that he's going to do that for sure.
Yeah, Cody Walker's a freak. He's proved all year that he's the best 5'8" in the competition right now. It's a battle I'm very keen to see, is the sort of Cody Walker versus Jerome Luai. If Jerome Luai can get his form back, it's going to be a very interesting battle. Obviously, two X-factor players, two guys that can really break a defensive line open. I just wanted to also touch back on Benji Marshall coming off the bench and to potentially sort of replace Adam Reynolds if he's banged up. Benji Marshall has been such a good signing for the Rabbitohs, just coming off the bench. Like, people said, oh, well, it won't work, or he'll only come and play 10 minutes, whatever. He's a backup half with a lot of experience, first of all. And a lot of the things that he can do is in a mentor sort of role for those guys. And I think it's really shown for the Rabbitohs so far this year that Benji's really left his fingerprints on this side and sort of helped guide the team around. And say Adam Reynolds does get injured or re-injures that groin, has to come off, you got Benji Marshall sitting in the reserves, a bloke who's been there and done that, and a bloke who's played more than 300 games. He's a freak. So I think that's been one of South Sydney's best signings this year. And yeah, Cody Walker in for a massive one. I think that will be a very interesting battle, the Sixers battle.
100%, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Cody Walker, obviously, you both touched on it. He was the 5'8" of the year for a reason. He was in the top 5 in the running for Dally M for a reason. He's just one of them players that, as Wayne Bennett said, you just can't coach what he's got, and he's got a lot of talent. As I said, whether he's been able to kick, pass, set up a try, bust a tackle himself, he just knows what to do and when to do it, and he's obviously a big game player going around at the moment. Many thought he should have been there for Origin, and Freddie probably looking at his time back, if he had it again, he'd probably slot Cody Walker in there for sure, but he's obviously in for a big game. He said he's ready for this game. I feel like he's ready for this game. He's had a wonderful preparation, wonderful season, and it all comes down to what he does on Sunday.
Yeah, totally. And a guy that won't really be talked about, but then again, he's had a really great back end of the season. Blake Taaffe, it's his 8th NRL game. He comes into this one the least experienced player to ever play a grand final. And the last time he versed Penrith, he played really, really well. So I think Blake Taaffe is in for a really good game, depending on who wins the forward battle. And I think that's what this game comes down to. There's only a halves battle if there's a forward battle. And I think that if the forwards really win the ruck, depending on whose forwards are winning the ruck, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. That's the team that wins this game, I think, because once the forwards are moving, the halves are moving as well. And I think that's when Blake Taaffe will really turn on and play some of his best footy.
Yeah, I think we were talking to Craig Gower yesterday on the podcast that's coming out today. He said that the forwards battle is going to be the key thing, and it's a key thing in every single grand final. It's whoever can gain the ascendancy, and whoever has the momentum will generally be the side that comes out and wins it. I think that's why I've just got Penrith winning. I think the Rabbitohs forward pack, although it's good and it has been good the sort of second half of the season, I do think it's a bit on the smaller side, well, at least compared to Penrith. So I think Penrith will be able to win that battle. I think Blake Taaffe is a guy who I've sort of got as a sort of smoky for Clive Churchill medalist. I think he's a guy that if he can get on the front foot early, like I know he's absorbed pressure really well throughout this final series, and it's all come off the back of the first 20 minutes. He's sort of been a bit dodgy, and you think back to against the Seagulls, he made a few errors and he was sort of looking a bit sketchy with the ball in hand, and then he built into it. And the similar thing with the Panthers game, he dropped a high ball, looked a little bit shaky under the next one, and really worked into his game. I think if he can get onto the front foot early, he can really break open this game and be one of Rabbitoh's crucial players, especially as a fullback, which, as we know, is one of the key positions in this competition.
Yeah, definitely. As you just said, Jacob, fullback's probably one of the most influential players on the field. And many people have been talking about South going into the grand finals, no Latrell, they're writing him off, and so they should. Latrell's obviously a great player, but the way, as you said, Blake Taft's absorbed the pressure and just taken these final series by the scruff of the neck and said, this is my final series. I want to prove to all these people doubting me that I can stand up in the big moments. And we sort of set a weakness into the first game against Penrith, clear his bombs. He knocked one on, but I thought that gave him a lot of confidence, and he bounced back from nicely from that. I reckon he's probably got one of the best kick returns in the game. The way he attacks the ball at speed and just runs his heart out and leaves it all on the field. I feel like it's a phenomenal trait to have leading into a grand final. And everybody's talking about pressure. I feel like he's just going out there to do a job for his mates and do a job for the South Sydney fans. And if he can do that and turn up again this week, it's going to be a good night for Blake Taft and the Bunnies.
Yeah, I bloody hope so. I'm a South fan myself, so I am praying that they win this one. But yeah, look, Blake Taft, it is really comes down to how he plays, how Cody Walker handles all the pressure, how Adam Reynolds leads those players in the park, and really that forwards battle is just crucial in a grand final.
Yeah. I'll just add something there as well. A lot of what Blake Taft will be able to do will come off the back of what Cody Walker does inside him. I think, as Dylan touched on, his kick returns are very impressive. It's going to be, he's probably going to have to start most of their sets because we know Panthers will be targeting him, and I think he loves that sort of pressure, and he runs into the line very intensely. So that's probably the appropriate word to use for him. But I think Cody Walker on his inside will be able to create a lot of space for him, and that's going to be also very important in allowing Blake Taft to play his game, is the way Cody Walker plays.
Yeah, no, I can totally agree with that. I think that Cody Walker really does see the game differently to a lot of other halves in the competition, and I think that just his X factor that he's displaying at the moment, it is really going to be crucial in this game, and he does make a lot of the guys around him look even better as well. So it is just going to be a huge game. Penrith Panthers, South Sydney Rabbitohs. Predicted scoreline and winner. Now, look, I think that the Souths could win this one. I think I'm not being not biased.
Just go South by 30, mate. Just stick to your guns,
mate. I wish, but I'm not being biased. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, but I do think Souths win this one purely just off the back of Cody Walker. As I said, depending on if Adam Reynolds has a similar role to the likes of Cooper Cronk in that 2018 grand final. Look, honestly, anything could happen. As I've said, I'm trying not to be biased. It's definitely not 30 plus. I do think it's a 1 point game. So if I'm going scoreline 25-24, and I think that field goal for South Sydney Rabbitohs, I'm trying to think if Adam Reynolds can't kick it,
Blake Taft.
Probably
Blake Taft to secure the Clive Churchill.
I bloody hope so, mate. I bloody hope so. What about you? What's your predicted scoreline and winner?
This is one of those games which I find incredibly hard to pick because, I mean, give me this matchup 8 weeks ago and I say Panthers easy, but now the Rabbitohs have really turned up and they've clicked into gear. They obviously beat Panthers in week 1. The Panthers, like I've been saying this the last 2-3 weeks, but they've surely got to be buggered by now. Like the fatigue has surely got to set in. But I just think they're too classy of a side. And I think it'll be another tough, grindy matchup. And it's just one more game that the fresh legs of not the fresh legs, but the young legs of the Penrith Panthers will be up for. I think they make it a real physical contest. I think it's a low-scoring game. I'm going to say Penrith win 14-12. I just think that the Panthers are just going to be too good for them, and they're going to make it a real physical contest as they've had this whole final series.
And I think as well, I think Panthers do have that advantage of Nathan Cleary and that goal kicking as well. So look, it is going to be a tough battle, really tough one.
I'm gonna call it now based on the way these referees are going. There's going to be a very controversial penalty in the last 5 minutes where Nathan Cleary just puts them between the sticks.
All right, I'll watch it. I'll watch for that one. What about you, Dylan? Predicted scoreline and winner.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I've got to go same as Jacob. I'm leaning towards Penrith. I feel like they're not going to lose two in a row, this young Penrith side. And I feel like Nathan Cleary's X Factor is just going to close that little gap between them out. I was looking through the team list the other day when they came out, and I was sort of going through position by position. And I look at Dylan Edwards, Blake Taff. They're virtually the same players. What Edwards has done recently and what Taff's done has been superb, and it continues through the whole team list. But I feel like a Nathan Cleary field goal within the last 10 minutes just levels it out and gives Penrith that edge, and they win 19-18.
Yeah, wow, nice. No apology needed, mate. I'll just cop that one on the chin. But yeah, no, totally. I think Penrith are definitely capable of winning this game. And as unbiased as I can possibly be, I'm not only praying, but I do predict that South win this game by at least 1 point. And yeah, well, I guess it will be Blake Tough kicking the field goal if anyone, depending on if Adam Reynolds still has a faulty groin coming into this one. Clive Churchill winner. Now, I've got two here. I've got two players that I reckon for South, and I reckon that is going to be either Cameron Murray or it is going to be Cody Walker. Now, we've seen it in the past with lock forwards getting Clive Churchill's after grand finals for South. Just go back to the most recent one. Sam Burgess got that Clive Churchill medal and had a huge game for the South Sydney Rabbitohs in that one. So I do think Cameron Murray's a big chance. He had a huge game the other week against the Manly Seagulls. And I think that if he carries on that form, he's going to be electric. He's been a fantastic player this year, Cameron Murray. And then you look at Cody Walker as well, and just the year that he's had. Obviously, Dally M 5'8" of the year. Really, really hoping that he has a big game, and I reckon he will too. And that's going to secure him the Clive Churchill for me. However, if Panthers win, you got to go with Nathan Cleary. And I think that if Panthers win, it's going to be off his back and what he does in this game. What about you, Jacob? What are your thoughts?
I like the Cam Murray pick because I think he's the best lock in the competition. I think he's really important to South Sydney's success. But I'm going to play both sides here. I'm going to pick one from Penrith and I'm going to pick one from South because honestly, I can't pick this game. It's really just based on instinct that I've gone Penrith. But for Penrith, if they win, I think it's going to be off the back of Api Coruscant. I think he's their only premiership experience in that side. He's the only one to have won a comp, and he's so important to Panthers' success out of dummy half. He's going to be providing Nathan Cleary with all the good service, and I think his running game's going to be deadly through those middle periods with the South forward tiring. I think he's going to be very important with a little bit of spark out of dummy half as well as getting through work in the middle. And for South, I'm going to go Blake Taff to win the Clive Churchill because I like me a Smokey, and I just think if he can get it on the front foot early and he can just start to play his game, those very damaging kick returns and playing out the back of Cody Walker, he's going to be very good. And I'm very keen to see how he goes in the next few years and how he expands his game because he's really adapted to the pressure of the finals arena very nicely.
Blake Taff field goal, predicting it now. What about you, Dylan? Clive Churchill.
Yeah, I'll also go one for both sides. And as you boys said, Cameron Murray for South. He's just their link man, hitting Reynolds and Walker out the back, and he has that X factor to run himself. To think he wasn't the lock of the year was pretty outstanding. Obviously, with Isaiah Yeo there, he's probably a great player too. It's probably the best lock battle we'll probably ever come across. But I feel like on the other scale, if it's Penrith, it's got to be through Nathan Cleary. The X factor that man brings to that side. And you saw him out, drew to a shoulder injury and Origin, they sort of lost their tracks a bit and they didn't really know what to do without Nathan. But when he come back, he just steered the ship really nicely. And I think that's what he's going to have to do this week if they're to get up against South. He's going to need to be on point with his kicking, his passing, his execution, his game management. And as the captain, he's going to need to lead from the front and give the boys a bit of power. So I feel like if it's Penrith get up, it's Cleary. If South get up, it's Cameron Murray.
Yeah, for sure. How controversial was that? Cameron Murray not getting Dally M of the year. That was, again, not me being a biased South fan, but just the year he's had. Origin, the defensive effort he's put in all year. I mean, I was shocked sitting there watching the Dally M night 2 and not seeing Cameron Murray get lock of the year for that one. That was really just confusing for me.
I personally had Cameron Murray as the best lock this year. I have him as my best lock in the game at the moment. And I can see Isaiah Yeo getting it. Like, I can understand why he got it. I would have preferred Cam Murray to get it. But, look, Isaiah Yeo deserves it just as much. Like, they're both premier locks in this competition, and there's not too much between them. The main one that I wanted to talk about in terms of the Dally M team of the year was Viliami Kikau getting it. Look, no disrespect to Viliami Kikau, but I didn't think he was. I don't even think he was in the top 5 second rowers this year, to be honest. Like, I nearly would have had guys like Sitili Tupanua and Homolo Olakuatu in over the top of him. But look, he's a very good second rower, but I probably wouldn't have had him in.
Tupanua was unreal this season. He was unreal.
That must hurt you to say as a Rabbitohs fan.
It hurts bad. It hurts bad to say that. But look, watching on, just as a fan of rugby league, like the things that I saw him do, the shots that he put on every game just to give his team confidence. He had to move into the centres and even on the wing at one point too for the Roosters when they had all their injuries coming in. I mean, for sure, I'd have him as second row of the year. I just think the effort just went unrewarded, in my opinion. Like, he was sensational.
Yeah, I think, look, you could even make an argument that Viliami Kikau wasn't the best second rower at Penrith this year. Like, you could make that argument, and I probably wouldn't disagree with you. Look, there's no disrespect to Viliami Kikau, as he is a great player, but I just didn't think he was one of the top 2 second rowers in the comp. Obviously, David Fafita and Angus Crichton probably would have been above him if it weren't for their suspensions. But surely when you're making a team of the year, like, this is the best 13 that ran out onto the field this year. Who cares about suspensions? It's not the best and fairest award. It's your team of the year. So I think suspensions shouldn't play a part in whether or not you make the team of the year. I think it should just be the best 13 players that took the field.
Yeah, totally. And another one, look, I understand the 2 front rows of the year, but geez, Jared Warrior-Hargreaves, you talk about how suspensions shouldn't play a part, and the year that he had even, just looking back on him, and this hurts so bad to say, by the way, upping all these Roosters players, but look, he played 80 minutes most games, and for a front rower, that is unheard of, which is... It just blows me away. Some of the decisions there. You could even make an argument that Robbo was the coach of the year as well over Craig Bellamy as well.
Are you sure you're a Rabbitohs fan?
I am a Rabbitohs fan. Don't doubt me on my Rabbitohs fan. But look, just as a footy supporter in general, look, I was just shocked at some of the calls there. But yes, I am definitely a South supporter. And I'm very happy that those guys didn't win, wink, wink. But look, they definitely deserved it.
Yeah. And some of the people who didn't get, like, we'll probably just move on to the next topic after this because enough talk about the Dally M's because there is a lot of problems with the there's a lot of problems with the system. I think some of the guys who just didn't even get the respect of being nominated for Team of the Year. Like, you guys like Nico Hines, who was one of the best fullbacks all year, didn't even get a nomination. Junior Paulo played Origin this year, not even a nomination. who else was I going to say? Daniel Tupu. Like, he deserved a nomination at least for Winger of the Year. Like, there's a few guys that have just been really hard done by and disrespected, really, in terms of that Dally M Team of the Year. But that's enough of that. We'll probably just get. I could sit here and talk all day about how the Dally M system's bloody not working at the moment.
Oh, I'd be right with you, mate. I'd be right with you. Moving on, Wayne Bennett, the GOAT coach. Look, I can definitely agree with that. I think that the things that he's done this year for the South Sydney Rabbitohs have been unreal. He's been no Trent Robinson. He hasn't survived through millions of injuries, but he's sort of got this South side. And look, the things that he's done over the past few years have been unbelievable, in my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Dill, will pass to you first. I've already spoken enough today.
Yeah, fair enough. Dylan, thoughts?
Yeah, obviously Wayne Bennett, no matter where he goes, whether it be the Dragons, the Knights, the Roosters, Brisbane, he's always up there in the finals and winning grand finals. Like, I think he's probably one of the best coaches, as we're talking about, to ever go around. But I feel like what he does really well, for example, when Blake Taff was first coming onto the scene in the round one of the finals, he just knows what to do and how to play, and he sort of took all the lights off Blake Taff and sort of bring it on him and Ivan Cleary just to relieve a bit of pressure there for the young kids. So just his mind games, the way he coaches, what he gets out of his players, like we say, Craig Bellamy gets his players, no matter who he plays, next man up mentality. And then you look at Wayne Bennett as well, like Jaden Sewer, he was playing reserve grade at the start of the year. Someone like Blake Taff, we've touched on a lot, and all these middles throughout his whole team, we could say they didn't really have the best start or the best mid-range of the year, obviously losing to Penrith by 50. But the way their forwards have bounced back, their defences clicked, their attack have clicked, that left side's just outstanding, and I think that all comes down to the class of Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Jacob, the man of the hour. Let's hear your thoughts, buddy.
Wayne Bennett, look, I've said it before. I think Craig Bellamy is the greatest coach of all time, just based on what he's doing with the Storm. But geez, Wayne Bennett's making a compelling argument at the moment. If he is to win this competition with South, he'll be the first coach ever to win with 3 different clubs. He's obviously, how many grand finals has he won? I couldn't even tell you. Like, it's just more than I can count on me one hand. So, look, Wayne Bennett, the stuff that he does, it's so hard to go to a different club and to get the systems in there to work and to get you towards a grand final. It's hard enough to do it with the one club. And I think if he is to win this, I'd probably have to say, you know what, Craig, step aside. Wayne's probably the GOAT now. Because I just think what Craig Bellamy has done is so ridiculous to create a powerhouse like the Storm. But geez, I reckon it's harder to go to a different club and to get them to win, and then to go to another club and get them to win. Like, he's a perennial winner, Wayne Bennett. And even like the stuff that he did at State of Origin level, he took the worst Queensland side of all time, in quotation marks, to end up winning the series over a New South Wales side that's stacked with talent from top to bottom. So, look, Wayne Bennett's building a very compelling argument. And if he is to win this game, I'd have to just tip my hat off to him and say, mate, you know what? You can take it. You're the GOAT.
Oh, and you know what the crazy thing is? South's had a really good side coached by Anthony Seibold. And Wayne Bennett's going really well at the Brisbane Broncos. And that was a huge controversial swap. But after the swap, South's just kept going up, and then you've got not Penrith. You got Brisbane here, and they just start going on the decline, which is just
well, it wasn't
crazy.
even a decline. They jumped off a cliff.
It
wasn't a steady a steady decline. They went from a top 8 side to bloody wooden spooners. So that just, like, Wayne Bennett was holding the club together, and yeah,
it's
like even
totally
what he did to take the Newcastle Knights of all teams to a prelim final was ridiculous. Like, I know people want to bag him and say, oh, the systems he put in place was the cause of those 3 wooden spoons in a row. Bullshit. If he was still there with those systems in place, they would be probably a final side still. So, look, Wayne Bennett's just a ridiculous coach. He's gotten some really poor sides to the finals. He's gotten some he's turned some really good sides into great sides, into all-time sides, like what he done with the Broncos as well. Like he's a freak.
You could argue that if Wayne Bennett was still at the Broncos, you could argue that we'd be talking about the Broncos and the Panthers right now. Like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Wayne Bennett was still at the Broncos, Reece Walsh wouldn't be playing for the Warriors.
Oh
Bloody
yeah.
Dave Fafita wouldn't be at the Titans. Sam Walker wouldn't be at the Roosters. Like, if Wayne Bennett's still there, all those young talents stay and they turn into like a Panthers sort of team.
Could you
all those sort of young talent.
Could you imagine the side that Brisbane would have if Wayne Bennett was still coach and they didn't lose all those players?
Imagine this, right? Anthony Milford underneath Wayne Bennett was a phenomenal player. Bloody was close to winning Dally M. I'm pretty sure he was. He was probably robbed of a Clive Churchill just based on, well, he was probably the favourite to win the Clive Churchill up until about 5 minutes left to go in that game. And just imagine that you got Reece Walsh out the back at fullback, you got Anthony Milford playing in form footy at 6, then you get Sam Walker at the 7, and who would they have at 9 at the moment? Do you reckon they'd still probably have Andrew McCulloch if Wayne was there? He'd probably opt to keep that experience there rather than go to Jake Turpin. Like some of the decisions made just show the class of Wayne Bennett. If he was there, he wouldn't have made those decisions. He would have been able to keep all those good players.
And then you add the players they've got now: Tessie New, Jermaine Asako, Payne Haas obviously was already there. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Patrick Carrigan. You look at all the players that they have now coming through the system, plus all the players that they had kept. You were looking at a premiership side. So you could definitely argue that if Wayne Bennett was still at the Brisbane Broncos, we'd be talking about Brisbane versus Penrith right now in the grand final for sure. That's just my thing.
You could certainly argue that. Yeah, you could certainly argue that, and I wouldn't disagree with you. Like Broncos were building such a good side, and they would have had such a good course. Like just some of the stuff that Wayne Bennett would have been able to do with those Broncos juniors, and to get them all together and let go of the right ones, and then keep the right ones as well. Like it's when you think about how the board's treated Wayne Bennett as well, it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest. Like where the Broncos could have been. What if? It's just a whole bunch of what ifs for Broncos fans.
Just crazy, just unbelievable. Like, look, we could talk about this all day, but I don't think we'd both have the time. This could turn into
I think Dylan wants to do a little bit of talking as well.
Yeah, I'll let you go, Dylan. I'll let you go. Come on, brother.
No, I was just going to touch in that. Obviously, Bennett possibly moving to that new Redcliffe team, and Munster also said that he would love to be coached by Wayne Bennett again. And for Munster to say that he's probably one of the game's best players, and to say that he wants to be coached by Wayne Bennett again, and to leave someone like Craig Bellamy just shows what caliber of coaching style Wayne Bennett has and what he does for his players. He's just so instrumental in this Souths team, and if they were to win, he's probably one of the top reasons why they are to win, because if I think they have any other coach but Wayne Bennett, I just don't think they are where they are this week.
Yeah, totally, Dylan. I definitely agree with that, mate. Oh, look, we could talk about possibilities and what ifs all day, but there's a lot more of this podcast we've got to get through. So let's get started here. Well, I've got some stats just from South, Penrith, a bunch of stats, and then there's also some news here. But we'll start with the stats here. So I've got tackle efficiency average for the forwards. South Sydney Rabbitohs 96.14% versus Panthers 93.34%. And we're arguing that Panthers were the biggest defensive side in the competition at the start of the year, and now South are averaging a higher tackle efficiency coming to this final series.
Look, I think what you can argue as well is Rabbitohs in the second half of the season have been one of the best defensive sides, if not the best. But stats, in my opinion, don't tell a full story. I love to refer to stats and sort of backing up my argument, but the Panthers, it's not just the fact that they get through work and defense and that they make their tackles, and it's some of the stuff they do in desperation times. Like the last 3 weeks have shown that they've had Parramatta and the Storm attacking their line, The Storm in particular, who are a quality attacking side, they weren't at their best. I think the Storm were pretty poor, to be honest, but the Panthers, whenever there was a half chance or a half opportunity for the Storm, you'd see guys rushing in to make those desperation tackles. And I think Justin Olam went through and was like that close to the line and got held up or stopped just short of the line rather. And who stops Justin Olam that close to the line? Next to nobody. So I think the Rabbitohs have really worked on their defense and really improved their defense a lot. But I think Panthers one of those teams that just turn up for each other and they'll come out and they'll perform no matter what. And they'll be making that, they'll be stopping teams from scoring tries really. And that's the aim of defense, is it not?
Yeah, for sure. And then you can argue again, Wayne Bennett. Just the impact that he's had on sides is just unbelievable. Dylan, what are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, obviously, as Jacob sort of touched on it, the stats really don't say it all, but it sort of does. These two teams obviously have an incredible percentage and near 100, and that just shows that these two teams 100% deserve to be in the grand final. But what Wayne's done with South's defence over the past couple of months, it's improved out of sight. Like you say, Penrith put 50 points on them, and then they come back about 8 weeks later and South beat them 10-6 in a final, and here they are, they have themselves in a grand final. But as Jacob says, the resilience and the bravery of the Panthers defense, they're just always turning up for each other. I'll use an example from the Melbourne game when Jerome Hughes got through. Like, if I'm looking over and I see Scott Sorensen running, I'm probably thinking, he's just doing it for a bit of a chase. But to think Scott Sorensen caught someone like Jerome Hughes just shows how much the Panthers' defense is and how much it means to their team and their club. And I just feel like Penrith defense has just been so resilient the past month. Like, even though they did lose against South, that game was so tough. The Para game, that's probably one of the greatest games I've seen in the finals. And then to go on to a Melbourne game and to beat Melbourne, I feel like if South Penrith are to win this week, it's going to be off the back of their defence, and it's probably one of the best finals run I've ever seen and the most resilient finals run I've ever seen from a team.
Totally. So we've looked at defense. It's going to be it's definitely going to be a huge defensive battle for sure. But then I've got some stats here from attack. So this is some kicking stats here through the regular season plus the final. So it's the average kick meters per match, Cleary and Luai versus Reynolds and Walker. So average kick meters for Cleary and Luai in a match is 648.8. Plus, then going up against Reynolds and Walker, 432.3.
Firstly, does old mate know that the little emoji that he's got there for the Panthers isn't actually a panther? Say
yeah,
cheetah.
Yeah,
not really. That's not a panther.
I'll have to let him know.
Anyway, we'll move on. Yeah, look, Cleary. Cleary, I think, has the best kicking game in the competition at the moment. I think, obviously, Adam Reynolds has an argument to say that he does, but Cleary's probably got the best kicking game in the competition. He's some of the floating bombs that he'll put up, and he's just ridiculous. Like, he averages nearly 500 himself, doesn't he? Or like mid 500s maybe. There's been a lot of games where he's kicked over 700, and I think he even had an 800-meter kicking game, I think, up against Parramatta. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check those stats, but Nathan Cleary's a freak with the boot, and so is Adam Reynolds. So that's going to be a major key matchup, and one I'm really looking forward to. Dill?
Yeah, obviously Cleary being the best half in the comp obviously showed that in the New South Wales getting that jersey in the Dally M half of the year, but just his halves partner Jerome Luai, I feel like the progress he's made through his 40 metres out, just pinning their side down in, pinning the other side down in a corner on a third tackle kick. And I'll just go back to a lot of rounds ago when they were up against the Roosters. Roosters got off to a flying start, and then you see Cleary put a kick through for Stephen Crichton. They score off the back of that, and then 3 times in one set they get repeat sets, and then they just slowly wind teams down and run them out, and then Cleary's kicking game just absolutely kills the other sides, and Luai's does too, and so does Cody Walker and Reynolds. Like I was looking at last week, Reynolds obviously had that injury, and Cody Walker was taking all the kicks. I didn't really realise he had an injury until about half time, and they said Reynolds has got a groin injury. That's why he's not taking the kicks. And Cody Walker, he wasn't kicking bad anyway. Like, he got plenty of times. He got a couple repeats. He was kicking and put them down nicely into a corner. But one thing that stood out for me I'll go to the south side of it, when they were kicking to Jason Saab, I feel like that's a great tactic from Cody Walker, just pinning them down in the corner. Because as we know, Manly like to shift the ball early and shift it to the right side of Manly to Jason Saab with his speed. But the way Cody Walker executed those kicks, put them in the right spot at the right time, I feel like his kicking game has progressed massively. And this is probably the two best halves in the game going up against each other, not only for their game management, but their kicking is just instrumental in both of their sides.
Yeah, look, I can agree with that. But if you're looking at both of these kickers, Cleary, Luai, Reynolds, Walker, Reynolds isn't going to be doing much kicking because he still is carrying that injury. So, look, you're minus about half of that average kicking meters, and Penrith have a huge advantage here coming with kicking. Breaking it down here, bomb kicks, average meters for bomb kicks. Panthers, or should I say the Cheetahs, 106 to the Rabbitohs being 60. Grubber kicks, pretty even there, 68 to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, 58. Crossfield kicks, 27, South 10. Kicks dead. Penrith have a lot less of that, so 7 to South's 15. Then 40-20s or 20-40s. Only 1 for Penrith, where Souths have 3. So look, it is going to be a tough kicking battle, especially for Souths when you've got Reynolds taken out, obviously, with that groin injury. It's a lot of pressure put on Cody Walker, especially coming up against Cleary, whose kicking game is just phenomenal, like Dylan said, and Luai as well. So very tough battle there for Cody Walker.
Yeah, I think what sort of stands out as I read through this is the actual volume of kicks. The Panthers have actually just kicked a lot more than what the Rabbitohs have. And what that comes down to as well is the amount of repeat sets and the pressure and the possession that Panthers build. You saw it a lot last year. We see it a lot this year. Panthers build pressure and apply that pressure to the point where they just strangle sides. And that's how they win their games is they slowly just sort of get a side out of the game just by keeping them in their own end and bashing them through the middle. And that's what sort of stands out to me is the sheer volume of kicks. They'll get some. So a lot of those bomb kicks would have been, say, not a lot of them, but a fair few of them, say, against the Rabbitohs last time where Josh Mansour dropped a few big bombs. They get the ball back. They apply more pressure. A lot of those grubber kicks would have resulted in repeat sets because that's what Nathan Cleary does is he puts it into the in goal. And you've seen the tactic of his lately is to jab it in and sort of get it around to for you guys like Stephen Crichton and Matt Burton to push through and try and score off those sorts of things, or even aiming at the post to get it to bounce back. And look, it's just Panthers building pressure as they do.
Yeah, definitely. As Jacob said, the pressure that Cleary can build just through kicking is so instrumental in how they go out and carry themselves throughout the game and what the scoreline will have on the game. But kicking is probably one of the most important thing a half can do. They're out there to put them kicks in certain spots, and you look at examples like, for example, the Titans. If they could get a good kicking game against the Roosters, they had a few wonky kicks, a few that went dead, a few that were just going to Tupou easily to get him back a lot of meters. But if they kick well that game, they win and they march on to another finals game. So kicking's just so instrumental in no matter what side, no matter what game. And I feel like whoever kicks better this week, it's just going to be a toss of the coin who gets the W at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally. Well, another stat here we've got is play the ball speed, average play the ball speed. And I think
Cameron Murray will top that for sure.
Yeah, well, he is. He's topped it 2.947. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what that's measured in. I think it's probably seconds, but you look at this list.
I'd imagine it's second. I mean, you don't see many 2-minute play the balls.
Oh, well, you never know. You never know. There might be the odd 1-2
Some of the big boys are a bit tired through the middle.
Exactly right, especially at the end of the game when you know you've won. Just a quick 2-minute play the ball.
Kenny Edwards is the best at it.
Oh, for sure. Look, Cameron Murray's leading this, and I think Cameron Murray's going to be really instrumental, especially if they get a quick play the ball, and then it's just all over there for Penrith. But just looking at this list, there's not a Penrith player in sight. It's Cameron Murray for South, and then a bunch of other players from other clubs. But yeah, as I said, there is no Penrith players in sight on this list.
Yeah, Cameron Murray's play the ball speed is so crucial to South Sydney. He takes a tough run, gets on elbows and knees, gets up, gets a quick play the ball going, and that's how they sort of build a lot of their left-hand raids. I've said it a number of times before. Cam Murray is so instrumental to South Sydney's success purely because of that fact. And then you add in the fact that he can ball play as well. He can draw in numbers and throw out the back or hit somebody on the short ball. He can score tries. He can set them up. He's sort of the most complete lock forward in the competition at the moment. And that's sort of why I think that, because he's just got everything that a lock forward will need.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, Cameron Murray's there for a reason. I feel like no matter if it's last tackle, I feel like I always see Cameron Murray playing the ball, laying that platform for a walk or a Reynolds kick. And even if it's not, it might just be like a 1 to 4 tackle, and then he gets that quick play the ball, and that's what Souths love to play off. They love to play off the quick play the balls. They love to play off the cuff, and then when you have Cameron Murray running at you getting the quick play the ball, you then have Damien Cook scooting out a dummy half, and then you have Cody Walker punching a hole or Reynolds setting up a play down his side. It's just so torturing for the other teams. But as you said, surprised to not see any Penrith players on there, with them being in the grand final and Luke Thompson being at the bottom at this at 3 seconds. I feel like the locks usually have the quickest play the ball speed. Like if Adam Reynolds or Blake Taff, as you boys said, are going to need to kick a field goal, I guarantee you that Cameron Murray is going to be the one to take that hit up, because he makes so many meters and gets that quick play the ball. It's just going to give the markers no time to pressure him. And with the blockers as well, that's going to play a major toll. Obviously, you being a South supporter, what are your thoughts on the blockers if someone like Isaiah Yeo gets to quick play the ball and the blockers intervene with Cleary kicking a field goal? What would your reaction be to that?
Look, I'm not a big believer on the blockers. I think that it is just a bunch of BS from the fans, to be honest. Look, it happens. It happens, but it's not a big deal at the end of the day. You go back to the South one where Sam Walker kicks that field goal against the Titans, and they were having a go at the Roosters for blockers. There is plenty of opportunities for those Titans players to run and still get Sam Walker there. There was plenty of holes in the wall that the Roosters were putting up, so it's not impossible. And the Roosters aren't protecting. It's not like NFL where they're running up to protect their quarterback. There's still plenty of opportunities to get that player to get the field goal. But look, honestly, I think that it's not really a big deal. In a sense, I think the South's defense this season gets Cleary, and I think we'll shut them down again this weekend, me being as unbiased as possible. But yeah, look, as I said, I think South's defense has been so influential this season. So yeah, being the South supporter that I am, I do see South winning this game, even if it is just by 1 point, Blake Taff field goal. But going back to this quick play the balls, you're definitely right, Dylan, about just locks, mostly locks. You look at Cam Murray, Josh Jackson, Jake Trbojevic, Jack Hetherington plays lock a lot too. Joseph DePine
Luke
as
Thompson.
well. Luke Thompson for sure. It is mainly locks. But I think Cameron Murray is just so good at getting that quick play the ball and even just setting up plays. You see in Origin as well, his ball skills are off this world, defense off this planet. I think Cameron Murray gets the Clive Churchill for me. I definitely think he is definitely in the running for that.
Yeah, I sort of, sorry to interrupt Jacob there, but I sort of want to say something with Cameron Murray. As you spoke about the ball playing he brings to the South side, the way he just puts the defense in two minds because he's such a powerful runner. People have got to be ready for him to run. And he also has that ability to tip out the back to Reynolds, Walker, and that just holds the whole other defensive line and makes them stop. And that's what Cody Walker and Adam Reynolds love to play off. They love to play off a line that's broken and not sure what to do because Cody Walker just takes that with both hands and just goes, this is the defense I like to attack against. And he just takes that opportunity. And down that left side, you see he's had 50% involvements in South's tries this year, which is an incredible number, but I don't feel like Souths are going to let any chances slip. Obviously, being against a massive Penrith side that do love to defend and can show that they can defend all day if they have to, it's going to be one of them games that if you get the opportunity, you're not going to get it much, just like a grand final. You don't get a grand final every year. So this is just going to be a cracker of a game, and it's going to come down to someone like Cam Murray applying that X factor or Isaiah Young on the other side. That's the two best locks. Jacob made a post about it. It's going to be one of the best matchups on the day. It's just going to be so important to their sides, and it's just going to be a great game and a great matchup.
Yeah, look, totally. Jacob, any other thoughts from you on this one?
No, not really. I just sort of think that, as we said, Cameron Murray is going to be instrumental in South Sydney's performance. I think his defense and his play the ball speed and his ball playing skills he's the most complete lock footballer in the competition, I believe. So yeah, he's just going to be massive.
Yeah, totally. Well, those stats were from VK and yeah, I can't read today. VK
Analytics.
Yeah, analytics. So give them a follow if you don't already. Great page for stats, especially from players and from teams. Going through some news now. So Suncorp Stadium will be reduced to a 75% capacity for Sunday's NRL Grand Final due to Brisbane's COVID outbreak. Patrons will have to wear masks at all times, including when seated. Look, it's going to be, I reckon, I actually prefer watching games from home, to be honest. I think it just feels better and it saves you that job of driving home at like 10 o'clock at night and trying to get out of the car park. I think watching it from home is better for me. Obviously, living in Sydney, it's not really affecting me much. It's more affecting the people up in Queensland. There was talk about the game being moved to Townsville as well, depending on how this COVID outbreak goes in Queensland. But that report was from SEN Radio. What are your thoughts on this one?
Look, firstly, I miss going to Bankwest to go watch the footy. I love it. That's why, and a very simple way to avoid the problem of being able to get out of the car park is you take public transport and you get on with the rowdy blokes heading back to bloody Mount Druitt and Penrith and Campbelltown and all that, getting rowdy. It's good stuff, that is. Look, I feel bad for the people who bought tickets and now have to miss out because of this 75% capacity. I'll try not to get too political in saying this, but it's one or two cases. Surely you could have waited a little bit more to see how it sort of panned out. And if you didn't think it was going to be safe for people to go, then move it to Townsville or move it to somewhere where you can have a full house, because there's nothing better than going to the footy and it's just packed, just fully packed, and there's people everywhere and the atmosphere is really good, which is something that you don't get watching the game, and something that sort of makes it stand out for me going to the footy rather than just sitting at home and watching. It's just the atmosphere around the ground of a full packed house.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the crowds these days, they play such a massive impact on whatever team there is and whatever main crowd it is. Obviously, as Jacob said, Bankwest, it's obviously a Parramatta home ground, and Para usually really get up for this game due to the crowd. And being on the sideline there as a ball boy, just seeing how much the fans love it and how much they scream, it's just so cool just being down there on ground level. But as as the news said, I believe there's a few LGAs in Townsville. I believe that's why they didn't move it there. But yeah, as I said, crowds play so much part of the game of rugby league, and I love going to games and watching it there. But as you said, there's sometimes when I don't like to go to games because there's that silly goose behind me that's drunk and just does not know what to say and not know when to say it. But yeah, people like that sort of wreck it for some, but I like watching footy from home and I also like it at the field. So crowds play such a massive role in the NRL, and obviously being a grand final, you want to, every kid's dream, every player's dreams to play in a packed house at ANZ or even this year's Suncorp, and you got to take your hat off to the Queensland government, the way they've taken the whole game up there to locate the families, to locate 16 teams around different parts of Queensland. It's just been so terrific, but something like this obviously is heartbreaking for the fans and the players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love going to the footy at Bankwest and seeing you and few of our mates just sit down there and we just yell. If I'm with some of the boys, we just yell out abuse at you, and that's probably the best part as well. Just hurling abuse at the ball boys, especially when you know them.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I love watching certain Mount Druitt supporters going absolutely ballistic at games for sure. I mean, that is one of the ups of going to the footy.
I have to get on a train with them. It's good stuff. It's real good stuff. Some
Oh.
of the quality I've heard from blokes coming back from games, especially when it's like a Para Penrith game or it's a Western Sydney derby, and I get back on the Blue Mountains line train to go back home, and bloody some of the people that get on there are just drunk and rowdy, and it's good stuff. I love it.
Well, mate, I'd have to try that one out. I haven't really had a go at those Mount Druitt trains or buses, but look, definitely we'll give it a go. It sounds really fun. Exclusive here from Michael Chamis just to finish up. Russell Crowe has handpicked Isaac Luke to ring the iconic foundation bell before Sunday's grand final after missing the 2014 decider. And Russell Crowe said, "We consider you the Prince of Redfern." So what are your thoughts on that, Jacob?
Look, the fact that Isaac Luke missed out on the 2014 grand final is disgraceful and will be disgraceful to the day I die. It was like, come on. To miss out on an opportunity of a lifetime, and one that he didn't get another opportunity at either, over something that now he would only just get off with a fine, is ridiculous. So good on Russell Crowe. I mean, it doesn't take back that moment for him, but at least it's something. He gets to be part of the atmosphere and a part of the Rabbitohs success sort of thing. But look, it's ridiculous that he got to miss out on that chance in the first place. So yeah, good on Russell Crowe for doing this for him.
Yeah, as you said, as Russell said, we consider you the Prince of Redfern. What he did that year, he was probably one of the best hookers going around, and obviously to miss out on a grand final, as you said, you don't get these every year, and this is one of a lifetime chance. Obviously, it was for Isaac, and what he's done for the South community, obviously with Russell Crowe saying that he is the Prince of Redfern, is a massive honour to have. And if I'm Isaac, I'm super honoured and privileged to be a part of this, and being a better fan of your Rabbitohs fan of yourself, the city down there will just be going nuts. I believe there's people driving around putting Rabbitohs paintings on people's driveways and stuff like that.
The
so
Phantom Bunny.
Yeah, this is how much the grand final means to the people of South Sydney. And as we sort of touched on before, the storylines in this grand final, they're just going to be so cool to see and how they pan out. But Isaac Luke done it all, won a grand final. I believe he did get given a ring from someone, if I'm correct. But if we go back to that year when he missed out, the person that subbed him in was Appy Coruscant. So there's just so many storylines heading into this game. But yeah, good work from Isaac.
Well, that's really interesting. You could even make an argument, if Appy Coruscant didn't play in that grand final, would he be playing for Penrith today? Would he be the well-known player that we know, Appy Coruscant, today? Would he have played Origin? There's so many what ifs. I could talk about what ifs all day. But Isaac Luke, he was really phenomenal playing for South. I actually enjoyed watching him in that South jersey in Brisbane the other day next to the trophy. It was really good.
Yeah. Brandon Smith season this year remind you a bit of Isaac Luke's 2014 season? As a Rabbitohs fan, you probably would have watched it a lot more closely. But what do you
I
think
was
about that?
I was gonna say that actually. Like Brandon Smith does remind me a lot of Isaac Luke. He plays a very similar game, and he's one of those really strong dummy halves as well, just like Isaac Luke was, or I should say is. Unfortunate that he's retired now. But geez, he definitely does remind me a lot of Isaac Luke, Brandon Smith. He really does. You could definitely make an argument that Brandon Smith does resemble a lot of Isaac Luke for sure. Definitely love watching both of those guys play. That Isaac Luke had to retire.
Yeah, I'm just trying to search it up now. I had in my head that Isaac Luke was Dally M Hooker of the Year that year. Was
Oh, I
I'm
wouldn't
trying
have.
to have a look.
I would not have a clue. My memory is shockers.
I just had it in my head that he was for. I'll have a look. I'm gonna just have a look for that real quickly. You just keep just talking a bit of shit about bloody.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if he was the hooker of the year in that year. He was so good for South. Went to the
Here we go.
Warriors and had a good year there as well. A few years there. Great player.
Oh no, it
Isaac
wasn't. I
Luke.
think it was James. I think it was James Seguiaro that year.
Yeah, I've got it
Wasn't
up
he?
too. It was Seguiaro.
Yeah,
Well, so even
yeah, wouldn't he?
Seguiaro was fantastic as well when he was playing, and obviously that
Wouldn't he?
incident with Brisbane was just unfortunate. But yeah, both of those
Yeah.
guys were really good.
Couldn't James Seguiaro have been anything? Like he was a freak when he was going around starting and playing. I don't know how many games he ended up playing, but when he ended up being reserves at Brisbane and just sort of getting shifted around, and he could have been anything as well in terms of a hooker. He was a good player.
I think he's still playing reserve grade Seguiaro, just off the top of my head, but I'm not sure where though. I know he's not playing for Brisbane anymore, but I do think he is still playing reserve grade, and still eligible for like international teams, like for PNG. I'm pretty sure.
So he's only 30 now, James Seguiaro. He could have been anything really. How many games he played? He played 164 games.
Yeah.
I remember his time at Cowboys and Panthers when he was just coming on, and he was a really good player to watch, and obviously shows with the fact that he won the hooker of the year that year. And I think he's stopped playing now because the last thing that will come up is his 2019 season with the Broncos. So yeah.
We'll even look back to when he played for Cronulla. He was fantastic. For Brisbane in that start of that year, he was great. It was just really unfortunate what happened there. Now, boys, I could talk to you all day, but I've got to cut it off here. Thanks for hopping on, guys. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, mate. Usually your podcasts are like 10, 15 minutes just talking about the news just by yourself. Whenever we seem to hop on, it seems to drag on to about an hour.
I love having a chat, boys. I love having a chat. Well, thanks for hopping on. I really